Hey, just a little update, guys. So I just follow Redfin. If you guys aren't familiar with Redfin, when you have it in your streaming, and if you give it your location, one of the things that's cool with Redfin is it actually tells you the price of each sale of homes that you're driving by, and it tells you everything that's going on. So I was watching some of what we're doing, like up in the Portland area, and just looking at this house. This house got listed yesterday. I'm talking super simple house over here, super simple. Siding, not the most attractive home in the world. In fact, this backside to me looks like a storage shed. But it's about 3,000 square feet. It's in a less desirable area, more rural, not right in town where we're building. And this thing listed, and in a couple hours, he had multiple offers. It's pending sale. The list price was $2.1 million, and it sold for over list price by 6 figures in less than 24 hours. So that's the market today. Will that hold? Well, we'll find out. But I'm just excited about it. And jobs drive real estate. Employment drives real estate. So when you develop and you build in an area that's thriving economically, where you have an abundance of job, in fact, so much so that they can't even find employees to fill positions, that they're bringing people in from other countries, that's a good problem to have. And when they're bringing people in from other countries in the thousands to be able to fulfill these positions, and they're giving them 6-figure earning jobs, it makes houses like this more financially viable, because this becomes the mean, this becomes the average, this becomes what most people are seeking and they're after. And so if you guys have heard me talk about what we have going in Seattle, this is happening in Texas. Elon Musk, if you follow Elon, it's cool because he'll just tweet, if you're into real estate, buy real estate in South Padre Island and Galveston. And one of the big reasons why is because SpaceX, they're doing a launching station in South Texas, and the employment benefits are huge. Then he does another tweet and he says, hey, move to Round Rock. And they have this college program where they'll put you through college, pay for it. You get out, you automatically make 6 figures. And they're calling out every single high school senior across the country to come move to Round Rock, Texas, which is Austin. And he said they're looking for mass employees. There's just not enough employees out there. So one of the big things is being able to drive real estate based on economic growth. And so jobs stimulate real estate. And so understand that everything you do, so I talk a lot about land development and going out and buying a lot and building a single family home. Well, here's your tip of the day, because the most important thing that you need to find out over land prices, house prices, everything, all that stuff's important. But the one thing you have to find out is there a need for what you're building? And who's your buyer? That's the biggest thing right there. Is there a need, and who is your buyer? So before you ever turn dirt and you buy a lot to build one house like I've been talking about, the first thing you need to do before you even consider buying land is you got to consider who your buyer is. And that's the research that every single person in every single market needs to do, because economics drive real estate. Jobs drive real estate. So right now, the medical industry is driving real estate. So if you build by a hospital, being like the COVID and everything that's happening, the pandemic this year, it has driven real estate. So if you build by a hospital, the chances of you selling that real estate are tremendously higher than if you build out in a rural area that has no economic growth. And so I've always built to accommodate the empty nesters. So my market, I knew what my market sector was. So I never went too far out of town, because I knew what empty nesters are looking for. They want that rural living. They want to be outside of town, a lot of them, but they want to be close enough that they're near interstates, they're near hospitals, they're near shopping, they're near places that are less rural, more affluent, and I knew what my demographics was. And I'm not serving the elderly, but I'm serving the people that are empty nesters. Mom and dad, after you leave home, and they're still working professionals, they're not retired. I'm not servicing retirees necessarily. empty nesters. There's a difference. So I have a different market class, a different market sector. These are active people. People that don't want to be in the city. They've lived in the city. They've functioned on the hustle and bustle, right? But they now want a little bit more rural living, but they still want to be close to their jobs, close to the interstate, smaller homes, but just more custom. And so that was my market for the longest time. Now we're hitting a market where we're going after young professionals, young families, young professionals. We're building a house that economically could be afforded by the affluent middle class. The affluent middle class being those that are the techies working for Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all that stuff. And that's been our primary push, our primary focus. And so those are just happen to be the areas that we're developing and building in now. The question is, doesn't matter where you're at, where are you developing? Who are you developing for? And so that's the single most important question that you have to ask yourself each and every time that you're buying a piece of real estate and you're going to build a house, or you're going to build multiple homes, or if you're going to build a commercial building. Because it doesn't matter if you're building residential or commercial. Jobs stimulate the growth and the need for real estate. So if there is no jobs, there is no need for real estate. If there's no economic growth, there is no need for real estate. So you have to understand, everything that we do functions around economic growth. And that's one of the reasons that Arizona has been so appetite friendly for us, because here in the Albuquerque market, where I've spent a good majority of my professional career, we've grown extremely slow because our politics are bad. The politicians have their hands in their pockets and they have a silver lining, right? And so there's not a lot of press for developers to come in and have massive economic growth. And because we are a blue state, they're pro-growth. We go to like a red state, and I'm not political, but it does make a difference in the real estate sector where you go, because they are for growth. They want to see growth. They want to see economic growth, and it shows. I remember going to Phoenix back in the 90s, and I remember going to downtown Phoenix back in the 90s, and it was dead. There was nothing happening down there. It was like a small town. I remember there was the only restaurant at like 9 o'clock at night that was open was a Hooters, and I was sitting back going, if you guys know me, I've always been a little bit of a health nut, where I want to eat well. I try to live a healthy lifestyle. I love going to the gym. It's my freedom away from the stress for at least an hour and 20 minutes every single day. And so I sit back and I'm going, good gosh, there's no healthier option than Hooters in all of downtown Phoenix. And I still remember this. It's very apparent. I remember walking around going, there has to be something open. Nothing. 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, downtown Phoenix, empty. Now, the contrary, you go to downtown Phoenix today at 9 o'clock at night, the night just began. The night is in infant stages, and there's everything happening down there. You got the American Airlines Stadium, you got basketball, you got you got all your venues, you got all the nightlife, the hotels, restaurants, everything thriving. And so economic growth, and hence you've just seen a city expand and grow into every facet in every sub-market there that's around it, from Scottsdale to Mesa to Avondale to Chandler to Tolleson to everywhere. You name it, it's grown out there. And here where we're at, we haven't seen it. And so one of the big things is I advocate for business coming to cities. And some people say, I don't like dense living. Well, guess what? People have to live someplace, right? We don't depict where those people are going to live. They live, if they want an urban lifestyle, they're going to have urban living. If they're going to have a rural lifestyle, they're going to live in a rural area. We don't pick and choose that. Just understand that if you're going to buy land and you're going to build houses, you need to know what category, subcategory, and what market demographic you're hitting. And I talk about that stuff because I've been able to make millions of dollars in a very rural area. Just here in Albuquerque, we've made millions upon millions and millions of dollars, but I knew my market sector. And so what I'm getting at is it doesn't matter if you're in a slower economic growing city. I know like Tulsa, Oklahoma was like that for so many years, and now Tulsa's, it's bursting at the seams at growth. But you look at places like Mississippi, Alabama, a lot of states down south, they haven't experienced a lot of growth. You go into Tennessee, not a lot of growth, not a lot of economic growth, but there's still pockets in those areas that are very affluent. But you have to know your demographics. You got to know who you're hitting and what your target market audience is for resale. do the research on your comps, your comparables, what your high price of resale is, what your low price of resale is, and what your competitive nature as far as trim out items are. But more importantly, you need to know who you're marketing to and who you're building for. What's your demographics? And always remember that economics and jobs stimulate and drive real estate. You like and want to see more content just like this? Pound that subscribe button, give us some love, and give us a big fat thumbs up if you like the content that you're hearing today.